I found myself running late for a romantic date with my girlfriend, Sarah. I had meticulously planned our evening, and being tardy wasn't part of the script. My anxiety was compounded by the relentless rain, which pounded my car as I navigated a shortcut through an unfamiliar road on the outskirts of town. As I drove deeper into the woods, the rain seemed to amplify the eerie isolation. The narrow road twisted and turned through a dense forest, and my car's headlights created a disorienting tunnel of light. My cell phone signal vanished, leaving us isolated and entirely dependent on the GPS for directions. The GPS guided us toward an imposing structure that materialized out of the darkness. It was a massive, decaying asylum, standing like a relic from a bygone era. The sight sent shivers down both our spines, but we were determined to make it to our romantic destination, and the GPS insisted we proceed. With trembling hands, I parked the car, and we ventured inside the asylum together, clutching a single flashlight. The rain outside had subsided to a faint drizzle, but the eerie sound of water dripping inside the building intensified our unease. The asylum's hallways were a labyrinth of shadows, each turn revealing more unsettling sights. Doors creaked open to reveal forgotten patient rooms. Some held beds with restraints, as if the occupants had simply vanished. Others appeared freshly made, an eerie contrast to the decaying surroundings. As we navigated deeper into the asylum, a distant voice seemed to whisper. It was faint at first, like an echo, but it grew louder and more distinct, carrying a mournful, chilling tone. We strained to decipher the words, but they sent shivers down our spines. Our flashlight flickered, casting long, ominous shadows on the cracked walls. The whispers surrounded us, coming from all directions. We quickened our pace, desperate to escape the oppressive atmosphere. Then we stumbled upon an eerie chamber at the heart of the asylum. A solitary chair sat in the center, bathed in an unnatural crimson glow. The air grew colder, and we felt an icy hand grip my shoulder. Panic surged as we spun around, but no one was there. With adrenaline surging, we raced back to our car, hearts pounding. As we sped away from that accursed asylum, we glanced at each other in terror. We had shared the same chilling experience, and our minds raced with the questions of what we had encountered. We reached the safety of the city, and the reassuring glow of streetlights surrounded us. The date we had planned was forgotten, replaced by the shared memory of that forsaken place. To this day, we'll never know if it was our imagination, stress, or something more sinister that night. But one thing is certain, we avoid that road like the plague. The asylum's secrets are not meant for the living to uncover, and the past refuses to rest in peace. It was a stormy night, and I found myself late for work. I was a diligent employee, and being tardy was out of character for me. My boss wasn't known for his patience, so I decided to take a risky shortcut through an unfamiliar road on the outskirts of town. The rain pelted my car relentlessly, and my windshield wipers worked overtime to maintain visibility. The road was narrow, twisting through a dense forest, and the only source of light was my car's headlights. Anxiety gnawed at me as the minutes ticked away. As I drove deeper into the woods, my cell phone signal vanished, leaving me isolated and completely dependent on my GPS. The narrow road seemed to stretch on forever, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was heading deeper into a wilderness that didn't belong in my urban landscape. Suddenly, a massive structure loomed in the distance. The beams of my headlights revealed an enormous, decaying asylum. It stood like a relic of the past, an ominous monolith that sent shivers down my spine. My pulse quickened, but the GPS insisted I should proceed. With trepidation, I parked the car and ventured into the asylum with only a flashlight. The rain outside had reduced to a faint drizzle, but the sound of water dripping inside the building created an eerie symphony of echoes. The asylum's hallways were a maze of darkness, each turn revealing more unsettling sights. Doors hung ajar, revealing forgotten patient rooms. Some still held beds with restraints, as if the occupants had vanished into thin air. Others appeared freshly made, a stark contrast to the decaying surroundings. As I navigated deeper into the asylum, a voice seemed to whisper in the distance. It was faint at first, like a distant echo, but it grew louder and more distinct, carrying a mournful, chilling tone. I couldn't decipher the words, but they sent a shiver down my spine. My flashlight flickered, casting long, ominous shadows on the cracked walls. The whispers surrounded me now, coming from all directions. I quickened my pace, desperate to escape the oppressive atmosphere. Then I stumbled upon an eerie chamber at the heart of the asylum. A solitary chair sat in the center, bathed in an unnatural crimson glow. The air grew colder, and I felt an icy hand grip my shoulder. Panic surged as I spun around, but no one was there. With adrenaline surging, I raced back to my car, my heart pounding. As I peeled away from that accursed asylum, I glanced in the rearview mirror. There, in the back seat, a fleeting glimpse of a ghostly figure sent me into a frenzy of fear. I sped through the winding road, desperate to put distance between me and that forsaken place. Only when I was safely back in the city, with the reassuring glow of streetlights around me, did I dare to breathe again. I'll never know if it was my imagination, the product of stress, or something more sinister that night. But one thing is certain, I avoid that road like the plague. The asylum's secrets are not for the living to uncover, and the past refuses to rest in peace. As I set out on that moonless night, the dense woods on either side of the winding road felt like an endless abyss. My headlights cut through the darkness, but only revealed more eerie shadows lurking in the trees. The only sound was the faint hum of my engine, creating an unsettling solitude. As I drove deeper into the forest, a thick fog began to creep in, obscuring my vision. I strained to see the road ahead, relying solely on the yellow lines that barely guided my way. The air grew colder, and an unsettling feeling settled over me, like I was being watched by unseen eyes. Suddenly, my headlights illuminated a figure standing on the side of the road. A hitchhiker, I thought. But something about the silhouette sent shivers down my spine. The person seemed to be wearing clothes from another era, tattered and old-fashioned. They extended a pale, skeletal hand, and I could see their eyes, hollow and lifeless, staring into mine. Instinct told me to drive on, and I hit the gas pedal, leaving the apparition behind. But as I sped away, I couldn't shake the feeling that the figure was somehow still with me, just out of sight. Minutes turned into hours, and the road seemed to stretch endlessly. My GPS malfunctioned, leaving me completely disoriented. Panic set in as I realized I had no idea where I was or how to get out of this never-ending maze of trees. Then I heard it, the faintest whispering, like voices carried on the wind. The words were indistinct, but the tone was unmistakably malevolent. I couldn't make out where the voices were coming from, but they seemed to be all around me, closing in. My heart raced as I navigated the treacherous road, desperate to escape the haunting voices and the lingering feeling of being pursued. Finally, I saw a faint glimmer of light up ahead. It was a gas station, a beacon of hope in the darkness. I pulled into the station and stumbled out of my car, trembling with fear. The attendant looked at me with concern, asking if I was okay. I couldn't find the words to explain what had just transpired, but I knew I had to get away from that forsaken road. To this day, I can't forget that night drive through the haunted forest, where I encountered something beyond explanation. Whether it was a malevolent spirit or a trick of the mind, one thing is certain: I will never venture into those woods again after dark,